So let's really start. Thank you guys for joining. Let me just share my screen really quick. And I always ask this question, but can you guys see my screen? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So okay, thank you guys for joining the product management panel event. This is an event hosted by the GSM Bay Area Leadership Association, and I'm Kevin Leung. I'll be introducing our panelists today. We also have questions that were pre-submitted by people who registered. So we'll have a time for us to talk about the questions that you guys have submitted and answer any of them, and as well as an open Q&A. If you guys have any questions, either during the panel or want to ask the panelists after the questions are submitted, feel free to chat me directly in the Zoom link, and I can take a look at it. And if there are any questions that are follow-ups to the things that the panelists have already said, then we can follow up if we have time. And at the very end, we also have a product management club announcement that's going to be announced by Debashish. So he will kind of come in at the very last 5 to 10 minutes to make an announcement for the product management club. Okay, so we can introduce our panelists. So just a quick intro for me. My name is Kevin Leung. I am a Bay Area second year part-time student at the GSM. I'm currently a finance manager at Meta or Facebook. It's still weird to call it Meta, even though it's been a couple months already, but I'm a finance manager for Instagram and fashion partnerships within Meta. And I know nothing about product management, so I'm equally as excited to learn from these three panelists. So we have Vi Huang, Brian Lee, and Michelle Yu. Thank you guys so much. These are all three alumni as well from the GSM, so they've definitely been in our shoes before taking classes and also working. But we're going to have each one talk about their journey, how they came to product management, and sort of how they stepped into their field. So we'll go one by one. So we'll start with Vi Huang. If you can talk about yourself, your journey, where you worked, and also how you came to the field of product management.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Vi, as Kevin said, and I'm a VP of product at Baring. Let's see, I graduated from GSM in 2010 during probably the worst recession in recent history, and fortunately got into product management. I was lucky to even get an internship at that time. But I actually started my career as a business analyst and kind of stumbled into product management and didn't realize it until I was in the MBA program and started comparing notes with fellow students and realized that what I had done while I was a business analyst, when I implemented one of my reports into a MicroStrategy product, I realized that I had done product management work, and I was able to kind of parlay that into an internship to get some experience and then transition into product management after I graduated.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vi. Okay, we'll go to Brian Lee. Now, in the invite originally, it was Castleit Health, but now it's a new title at JP Morgan. So if you want to also share a new role update, that'd be great as well.
Yeah, I can share that. Hey, everyone. It's great to meet everyone virtually. My name is Brian Lee, and I am a GSM Bay Area alum, graduated in 2016. As Kevin mentioned, I'm currently a product marketing lead at JP Morgan on the commercial real estate team. So it's my first week at the company. I don't know anything yet, but I'm actually leading our product marketing efforts for a digital real estate platform for landlords and investors. So leading things like segmentation, messaging, positioning, as well as go-to-market and enabling our field teams. Most of my product marketing career has been in the B2B SaaS spaces, just for context. And then in terms of how I got into the field, there's kind of two key transition points, which I'll kind of quickly cover. And then if anyone has detailed questions, we can go into it. But the first real big pivot for me was from a non-tech job to tech. And I essentially leveraged like my client and customer facing experience to do that. And then I worked at Eventbrite for a little while. And then from there, I actually started interacting a lot with product marketers, product managers, and QA and development folks. And that's where I actually got exposed to product marketing as a potential career. And then from there, I decided to get my MBA, which we can chat more about later. But I essentially just leveraged like all of the side projects that I was able to work on and take on, even with no direct product marketing experience, and kind of try to work my way into those teams and kind of interact with those people that the PMMs would be working very closely with, and kind of use that to my advantage. Another thing too is like I actually met my first boss in product marketing within the MBA program. He actually didn't finish because he didn't really need to, in my opinion. But I met him there, and he was my hiring manager for my first ever PMM role. So that's kind of how I got into things. And just super excited here to talk to everybody. I wish that we had had something like this when I was during my time at the GSM. So excited to be here and chat with y'all.
That's awesome. Thanks, Brian. It's great that we also have 2 people in product management and 1 in product marketing. So it's great to have that difference. And we'll go into the differences of those fields and the different expertise. But we'll go on to Michelle, you, our 3rd panelist. How you got into the field, your current work, and kind of your story behind product management.
Sure. So, hey, everybody, my name is Michelle Yu. I currently work as a senior product manager for capital service at Boston Scientific. So Boston Scientific is a medical device company. And so, you know, my job is to look at our capital service portfolios from a global perspective to drive sales revenue for the business. And so I look at brand strategy, commercialize our service contract offerings, including looking at new product acquisitions and trying to create a new service product based on the new products that we are acquiring. And so it's been a great, I think almost 3.5 years at Boston Scientific, but, I was always in the med device industry, I think for like 15 years now. I graduated from GSM in 2018. I was part of the part-time Bay Area program as well, Kevin. So shout out to you. But my path to get into product management was definitely not as a straight shot. And so I started in customer service straight out of college. I was working at a company called Stryker, and then I moved into regulatory affairs. I mean, it did 3 years in that. Then I moved into business operations, sales operations, but I always kind of was thinking about marketing and sales and kind of that area. And so I decided to leave my company and then take a break and get my MBA and start at another company while doing school at the same time. And so that was probably a lot of what you guys are doing right now. And so with product management or marketing role in mind, I took MBA courses. And then as I was nearing graduating from my part-time program, I reached out to I basically networked with people at my company, marketing managers, and just became friends with them. And at some point I was like, hey, I am interested in moving into product management. Is there any kind of stretch assignment or any kind of little small mini projects that you can give me? And so obviously I needed to ask my manager to see if he would support that, and he did. And so they would give me a couple of mini projects so that I could figure out, hey, is this something I really want to do? And also show them what I can do. And so at the end of my MBA program, once I graduated, then I was trying to leverage that into a product manager role. So I ended up leaving that company and being a product manager at Boston Scientific, but that was kind of a nice roundabout way to, if you don't have any experience in product management at this point and you're trying to get in, always trying to reach out and network and trying to learn and become friends with the marketing team or whoever is really, really valuable.
Great. Thanks so much, Michelle. Yeah, there were a lot of questions about what to do with networking or just having no experience. And we'll definitely get into those questions moving forward. So thank you guys for that great intro, great backgrounds, and also just different experiences that you guys have gotten to get into product management. So we'll start going on with the questions, and then we'll leave it for any Q&A at the very end. So let's start with really generic. We got 3 or 4 questions about this, the differences between different types of product manager roles, whether it's either the growth career-wise or just the different types of product manager roles. So let's start with Vi. Can you tell us the different types of product manager roles that you see at your company?
Yeah, well, I think in general in the market, there are different types of roles, whether you're looking on the consumer space or in the enterprise space. So if you're a product manager for enterprise, that means you're creating products that would sell to other companies. So your end customer would be a big corporation. And then the other side of it is the B2C side, where you're developing products that are for regular people like you and me. So that would be like any sort of app or any sort of even a mouse. Although there are hybrid products where you could sell both to consumers, as well as enterprise. So think of like a MacBook, for example. You've got people who purchase, who are regular consumers, but then also corporations purchase these MacBooks for their employees to use. So those are the different types of product managers.
Awesome. Michelle, did you want to add anything to the career side of product manager roles?
Yeah, so I was taking a different look at this question, and I'm looking at kind of the growth trajectory or the life of a career of a product manager. And so normally you would start as an associate product manager if you're kind of on a level 1 type of job, and then you would move into regular product manager. And then if you want to continue growing, you could be promoted to senior product manager. And then once you're at senior level, you can kind of make a decision which direction you want to go. Do you want to continue as an individual contributor? Then you would go into maybe a principal product manager role if that's available at your company. If you do want to manage people, if you want to go into management, you can become a group product manager where you are managing other product managers, basically. And then obviously then you have kind of your director and above. So that's the way that I interpreted this question. And there's a lot of opportunity and room for growth in this space.
Got it. Brian, did you want to add anything to this?
Yeah, the only thing I'd add from the product marketing side is maybe there are a lot of specialties within product marketing, right? So you can be a product marketing manager and like dedicate your entire career to something like competitive intelligence, where you just run numbers and like do competitive landscaping, run pricing competition analyses. You can also do like product launches and focus specifically on that, or just pricing and packaging, for example, right? So there's a lot of like different segments, even within product marketing, that you can focus on and kind of leverage your experience as well as your specialty set.
Got it. So we'll stay with you, Brian, since you are in product marketing, and we had a couple questions about the difference between product management and product marketing. So can you give us a quick little summary of what you do and how that differs from product management?
Yeah. So I guess before I dive into it, there's like disclaimers, right? Because depending on the company, depending on the organization, depending on the industry, a PM may actually be the same thing as a PMM. What I'm talking to in the lens that I have is specifically like B2B software, like enterprise software. So just keep that in mind. So like if you're thinking about these two roles, always like really dig into the job description, because a lot of what Michelle's doing at Boston Scientific, a lot of that stuff would actually be owned by PMMs, a lot of software companies. So there's a lot of overlap there. So that's the first thing that I will say. At a high level, like a textbook definition that I've typically heard in terms of PM, product manager, versus PMM, product marketing manager, is that the PM typically owns getting the product or the software or the service or whatever it is onto the shelf, right? So this can be a virtual shelf. It might just be a website, right? Not actual at a retail location. And then the PMM essentially owns getting the product off of that shelf. So thinking through like the customer lens, what actually resonates with them in terms of messaging, where in the market that this product fits in terms of an overall market landscape, as well as like thinking through pricing, as well as thinking through channels that they can actually sell into. So at a high level, that's what I would say. The other thing that I'd add also is like you can kind of characterize by like the type of teams that these folks are typically working with. So at like B2B, like tech SaaS startups or companies, typically PMs interact more with engineers, developers, QA, R&D, those type of things. And they own like the product roadmap, the vision for the roadmap, and as well as like product requirements. So think about like product development, things like that. And then the PMM on the flip side is typically interacting more with customer facing teams. So sales, customer success, field teams, And they also work internally a lot with marketing and design as well as PR. So they'll look at things like product positioning, messaging, what the value proposition is, and then as well as things like competitive analysis and pricing as well. So that's my like quick answer. There's a lot more that goes into it. And obviously there's a lot of nuance, but that's at a high level. And then if, Vi or Michelle, if you have anything to add, feel free to.
Yeah, Vi, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think Brian really hit the nail on the head with his description. The only thing I'd add is, from a role perspective, although both need to really understand who their customers are, the product manager is doing the research and driving from the consumer lens, what will they want to buy, which is very similar to marketing, but we are trying to figure out what to develop so that that consumer will want to either use it or purchase it. And then we partner with product marketing to then make sure that they get the word out on the product. So hopefully in a nutshell, that's describing.
Yeah, the good PMs do that. Bye.
Great, thanks, Vi. We'll stick with you for the next question. There were multiple questions on this next one, and as we're all current or alumni GSM students, and we're learning more about product management, many of us either do not have any actual experience or have minimal experience in product management. So what kind of skills, they could either be technical or just even personality or soft skills, are needed to kind of switch into product management, and what kind of personality types do you usually see as product managers? So we'll go with Vi first.
Sure. So I see the product manager as like the mini CEO, but you are the CEO of your product. So you are making decisions on what you want to put into your product. You need to understand who your users are, or even define who your users are going to be, or who your customers will be. So I would say really customer empathy, understanding, being able to do the research, being able to work across different functions to be able to work with marketing, engineering, sometimes legal, depending on what field you're in. And then being able to continue to network and to kind of be out there and be able to influence people.
Absolutely. Michelle, what kind of PMs do you see at your work, and what kind of personality fits do you see as best fit for the work job?
Yeah, so I think that when I look at fellow product managers on my team and my department, they're all go-getters, right? They are all, whenever they're speaking, they think about what they're going to say, and there's always a point to it, because with product managers, I think that as I was saying, I think a really good quality that you should have is the ability to influence people, because when you're trying to drive a product or you're trying to develop a product, you do have to work with lots of cross-functional teams like you were mentioning. And if you're working with R&D to try to get the inputs on the specs of a new product, you have to tell them, hey, this is what I think we should do. And there's going to be a lot of back and forth, and you have to be able to, speak your mind and convince them accordingly, right? I think that different qualities that you could have too is, I think soft skills are really important, but also just the ability to really look at something and become an expert at it. Product managers are often seen as, the hub and then of a wheel, and then there's all these spokes where you have to interact with lots of different groups. And so in order to do that, you have to be able to handle multitasking and fight fires and things like that. And so I think that when I'm interviewing other people to be a product manager, I mainly look for that. You could be saying anything, you could be telling me any story, but if I want to listen to you, then I think that's something to be said. If I'm losing you when I'm talking to you, and you could be saying something really interesting, but for me, it's kind of just a thing that I look for.
Great. Brian, do you have any skills or experience that you used prior to being in product marketing that you kind of leveraged while switching into the department?
Yeah. So I'm going to take a different lens because I think Michelle and Vi actually answered, that component pretty well, and think more from like a super high level that's maybe applicable across even beyond PM and PMM, especially like if you have very little to no experience, right? So like what I did essentially, and I think Michelle was very similar, where is I just like attached myself at the hip with the product marketing person that I found at the company. And I was just like following them, whether it's like kind of going through the calendar and kind of inviting myself or kind of figuring out how to get coffee chats with them, and really like just sitting next to them and then starting to get involved in projects. So I essentially like built up a mini portfolio while I was at Eventbrite, even though I wasn't doing product marketing, on things that I worked on that were directly related to what a product marketing manager would do. So like if you're at a company right now, it's great because you already have people that are doing very similar roles. So like really think about how you can hop on that and just like start introducing yourself, start thinking about how you can add value to these people in a way that makes sense, that isn't like too overbearing, and really just build up that portfolio so that you're able to kind of essentially leverage that. And then the other thing I'd add is for product marketing, I think very similar to product management. I find that people who are able to connect different things together like are very, very successful. So number one, like connecting things that may be a little arbitrary in terms of like concepts or something that different teams are working on, and just like pulling that together, number one. But then also like being able to connect people together, right? So for example, like Kevin, if we were at the same company, as well as Michelle, you two are working on something and it like just aligns really well with what we're doing as a company, like just start connecting people and really bringing people together is what I've seen works really well for the successful folks.
That's awesome. I think for me, one of the things I learned as a finance manager, working with product managers who on a product, either go-to-market strategies that I thought I was so experienced. I'm like, oh, I'm in finance. I won't understand the product, but actually learning exactly how the product works and where the product market fit best reaches audience actually matters to finance a lot, because that does matter on projections, it matters on sales, it matters on reach. And so I actually did a lot of coffee chats, like you said, during this last year, learning more about what they actually do in order for me to have a better understanding of how I can do projections on our overall budget. So it's great that I think you talked about mentioning networking, and Vi and Michelle, you also mentioned just being a go-getter. That I realize that every PM that I work with is really intense, but in a good way. And they actually have really good drive, and they see a vision that I sometimes don't even see. Like they see a longer term vision that I never would have thought of as like a very startup early stage product development. So that's the kind of value that I see product managers have as a skill. So thank you guys. And if you guys have any questions or follow-ups that you guys want to ask Brian, Michelle, or Vi after, feel free to chat me directly, and then we can have an open Q&A at the very end. Okay, so we'll now go into the next question. There were a couple questions that were around this, and it might be interesting to know like what the difference is and how does our strategy for product management vary between an actual service versus a physical product or good. So we'll kick it off to Michelle to answer this question, and then we'll go to Vi and Brian.
So I think there's, sorry, I was muted. So I think there's differences and there's also similarities. Can you guys hear me? It says I'm muted. You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we're talking service, from my standpoint, what I'm talking about is capital service. So if I could just explain a little bit about the medical device industry, right? So when you're working at a medical device company, the way that products are broken up, it's into two areas. The first is your base product, and the second is your capital product. So your base products are kind of your single-use products, your catheters that would go into the patient during cases or during surgeries. They're used in the patient, and once the case is over, you throw it away. So those are the disposables. It's kind of like your bread and butter that people sell. And then when you're looking at your capital equipment, it's like the VCR to your video, right? Old school reference, sorry, but it's actually the controller or the system that the catheter is going to plug into. It's reusable. It could be your monitors in the surgical space. It could be different controllers. It could be whatever that's reusable. And so I'm in the capital space. And when you have a capital product, it's kind of like for example, if you're buying a new car and you're at the finish line and you're about to buy it, and then the sales rep says, hey, well, are you interested in buying the extended warranty? And of course you're like, no, of course not. It's not worth my money. But when we're looking at capital equipment in med device or in hospital, these patients are on the table. And, if the product goes down, then you definitely want to make sure that you have a solution, you can repair that product. And so my job is to look at the capital and sell the service agreement for that, if that makes sense. So the service contract is intangible, right? It's something that you have to sell the value for. Just like the car salesman is trying to sell you the value of the extended warranty, he has to convince you. And so the service is more of a solution sell to me. And so you're still doing the market research. You're trying to understand who your customers are, which ones would be most likely to buy this service, and then trying to go after them. And you're also developing that product too. But when you're looking at a physical good, in my space, it would be a clinical product. It would be something that the catheter that's going inside your body. And when you're working with R&D to try to develop that, you're looking at all of the different specs and all the different user needs that the product is going to require. And so it's a little bit different. I think service is more of a solution sell, and the physical good is you're actually going directly to the customer themselves and then trying to train the sales reps to really sell that in kind of like a very intelligent way.
Got it. Vi, do you want to add anything on the service side?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take a little bit of a different spin on it from the technology side, software as a service. So where I'm at, we provide software as a service to shipping companies. So one of the solutions that we provide is, to simplify it, I'll call it like the Waze or the Google Maps, but for the ocean. So we're helping ships navigate across the ocean to avoid bad storms, avoid piracy, and we bring in all of this information and data, and we help them find the most fuel efficient, safest, and fastest route to get from point A to point B. So that's software as a service. And then the physical good that I'm thinking of would be like an iPhone. That's like more of hardware versus software.
Got it. And Brian, I know you're in PMM. Are there any strategies on go-to-market from a service versus a physical good?
Yeah. So I think much like Vi and Michelle mentioned, for physical goods. So when I'm thinking about that, I think about like hardware and then software as a service. Typically, like the physical goods have a much longer like development as well as a product life cycle. So in terms of like the go-to-market motion and like how you're enabling your sales team, typically the cycles are much longer, more complex, typically more expensive as well. So it's a bigger output and outlay for the customer. So you need to think through that in terms of just how you're investing your money as a business. And then also like how you're enabling your sales team, because sometimes the physical goods actually line up very well with like an annual cadence of purchase. So most recently I was at a healthcare technology company, and the way that health plans buy, for example, is all around open enrollment. So if you like miss a certain window, you got to wait until the next time around. So like there's a lot of different considerations there, whereas software as a service, it's continuously deployed and you're always able to update it and always able to sell it. So that's one thing I would mention. And then Michelle touched on it a little bit earlier, but in terms of the marketing side, the services, like when you're marketing that, it's a lot more like relationship based, because they're typically like people tied to things, right? So whether it's you're calling in for customer support or whether it's a customer success manager that's actually supporting the enterprise account, there's typically a person involved. So much more than like selling value on a product, a physical product, there's a lot more around relationship as well as being people focused. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. And just I just noticed by your background is waves. Is it because of the shipping and you're kind of getting like a visual representation of how it's going? I just noticed that your background was
so funny. No, it's not related. It's
okay,
just where I wish I was, where I will be in a week.
Got it. Got it. Okay, thanks, Brian, Michelle, and Vi for those questions on the differences of product management, kind of the logistics of what we need in terms of skills, whether it's technical or soft skills. Now we'll go into more of the MBA questions. I know we're all in current MBA school. We're trying to learn different classes and courses to kind of get a better mindset on what product management is. Our next question is how we can use our Davis MBA, and you guys are all three are alumni. So would love to know how you guys either used your MBA to transition to product development, and any recommendations that you guys would give us on specific courses you guys took, any classes that you guys found really interesting that maybe helped progress or help enhance your movement into product management. And yeah, so we'll start with Vi first.
Sure. So actually, I would recommend you just take whatever class you are interested in. I think my concentration was strategy and marketing. It wasn't even product management, because I think I kind of stumbled into product management. As I mentioned earlier, I didn't know that I had kind of done product management work when I was a business analyst. I gathered requirements from some marketing managers on some reports that they wanted me to work on. And then I realized, oh, well, I can just implement them into MicroStrategy so that I can spend more time doing more strategic work. And then I worked with engineers to implement it. And so I just kind of found that connection to be able to say, oh, that's what I've done. And then I actually, I think I mentioned earlier, I graduated in 2010 during the worst recession in recent history. And I was lucky to even get an internship. That's how bad it was. I graduated and there were no jobs. So I took a product management internship role, which, you really have to swallow your pride. But if you know what you want to do, you just go and do it. And it was very tempting when people were offering me other roles for business analyst positions, but I didn't want to get kind of kitty cornered into that same role and then have my MBA be for naught. So I kind of stuck to my guns and took that chance and declined those roles, but used my internship experience and the experience from my business analyst position and networked like crazy to get into product management. So really just follow your passions. That's really my advice.
That's amazing, your tenacity to weather all the storms. Michelle, you mentioned a little bit about taking a break and doing your MBA and going back to another job field, but how did you use your MBA to kind of transition to product development or management?
Yeah, so I think as I mentioned kind of in the beginning, as I was going to part-time classes in the Bay Area, I was also at a company. I mean, I did do some soul searching before that. I had left my company and then I was like, okay, I want to go into marketing. And so I'm going to go for my MBA. And so once I joined that company, I started the program. And so again, just, planting those seeds, it's really important, right? If you are currently in the field that you want to be in, just plant those seeds, make those relationships, and try to kind of somehow get in so that they can see your potential. And you can also find out if you want to do, if you're getting a taste of, the field that you want to be in. I think it's really, really important. And then, I think Vi is right. You don't really have to take all the classes specific to a concentration, but the specific ones that I really, really liked were obviously the product management class with Mark Lowe. That one was really good. It's kind of like you're taking care of a baby, right? You're just like taking it from inception to the time that the sun sets on it. And I really like the concept of that class.
The simulation is so fun too, right?
Yeah. It's really fun. We didn't win, unfortunately, but my most favorite class, honestly, was negotiations. And I think Jim Olson, so he's retired by now, but I'm sure you guys know, maybe some of you guys know who he was. He was a great professor. It was a great class. I'm sure it's still offered, but that really taught me on how to construct any conversation. And I think as product managers, you really have to know like the agenda or the order in which you want to say something, because you really want to have that strong delivery to try to convince somebody to do something. That was a really impactful class, power and influence. And then The last one was just whatever class you can be in where you're presenting, get those presentation skills, get those soft skills together, where you have to be in front of your classmates and talk about something, because that is really going to help you. You're presenting a lot as a product manager, so you got to get really comfortable with that.
Yeah, I think we've heard negotiations as the most favorite class that most students have said. It's a great class for people to argue about anything. So it was
Totally. Yep,
it's a great class
totally.
for everybody. Brian, any classes that you recommend, or how you used your MBA to transition?
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, how I used it to transition was actually not the classes, it was the people I met. So I guess the first nugget of advice I would have is like use those like late night dinners we had at the MBA program in the Bay Area, or like the lunches or the breakfast, and just like start talking to people and like express your desires and like what you want to do and your interests out loud to as many people as possible. Because, ideally someone's going to be out there with that type of position, or they're in that position, or they're hiring for it. So just be sure to do that and like use that as a chance to kind of be able to get out there. And think about it as building relationships if you don't want to think about networking in that way. And then the other thing I'd mention is like, I think Vi and Michelle both mentioned this, but like, don't get so, what is it called, where you're kind of very narrowly focused on classes and like a concentration, because I think it's a unique time, like during your MBA, where you have like this massive list of potential classes, a massive opportunity to learn about things outside of like your typical horizons. So like learn whatever you can that's new and interesting to you, because that at the end of the day, that's going to bring value to you in one way or another. So don't like limit yourself that way. In terms of specific classes, for me, the strategy class with Gina Doko at that time was super helpful for me. And like everything in that class I've applied in product marketing basically in one way or another. And then obviously the Mark Lowe classes, as Vi mentioned, but then also there's a leadership seminar class with Jim Wonderman at the time. I don't know if that's still available, but he had like leaders from BART, the Golden State Warriors, just really vastly different organizations. And that was really impactful for me to see how like leadership isn't like this one size fits all thing. Like you could be very different, come from a very different background, have a very different personality or speaking style, but be very successful at what you do. So that was super impactful for me.
Great. I know we're recording, but after this, I'll get a list of you guys' favorite classes and make sure that you guys can submit to everybody, so we have it in our back pocket as we're registering for classes. So thank you guys. This is really great. We're going to keep going on to the next question now. And we talked about mentoring network. I think we mentioned a lot about networking, but any mentors or networking, either LinkedIn or any other means, whether it's alumni networks that you guys can recommend while learning more about product management and kind of how you learn about more. So let's go with Vi.
Yeah, so actually, I'm sorry, I was on
Actually,
mute.
sorry, I actually muted Vi on accident. I was trying to mute myself. Vi, you're totally back on.
So yeah, I actually used the GSM alumni network to get my very first product management role. And this is, I'm probably dating myself, but this is before LinkedIn was really popular. So I think everyone just uses LinkedIn now. But I found alumni who were product managers, and I found roles that had open or companies that had open positions, and I kind of stalked people and found GSM alums, and I emailed them and I said, hey, I'm a fellow GSM alumni. I'm interested in product management. I saw that there's a role at your company. Would you happen to know who the hiring manager is? And would you, be able to, connect with me and give me advice on the company? And so he was able to share my resume with the hiring manager and connect me. And that's how I ended up with my first product role after that internship.
That's great. Michelle, any mentors that you currently still talk to or now mentor other people?
Yes, actually. Well, specifically from the GSM, I still talk to Jim Olson. So he was actually my mentor for the greater part of my time there. in the program. And he is just great because he has guided me through a couple of job changes where I had to negotiate my job offer, and he offers that service to any of the students. And so it was really it's great to kind of get the coaching from somebody or a professor, or whoever you worked with at the program, somebody you admire as a professor, because they'll give you their input and they'll give you like a deeper dive into like their realm and how you can apply that to your job. And I think that's a huge strength of the program. And then, as Vi said, the networking through LinkedIn, that's magic right there, and I think if you're interested, if we link in together, and if you're interested in a company, feel free to look at my network. And I think that's why we're all here. We link in together, we look at each other's networks. And like I said, she reached out to somebody. People reach out to me all the time from GSM saying, hey, there's a role at Boston Scientific. Can you find out more? And I'm happy to do any of that work and try to refer that person. And so it's really valuable to have all of these connections that we have as students.
Yeah, I mean, after this meeting, I'll link everyone's Vi, Michelle, and Brian's LinkedIn for you guys to have. This is not like an open call for you guys to start asking them for jobs, but just a way for us to network. And you guys found great opportunities through networking. So Brian, any networking that you recommend as well?
Yeah. I'm going to echo the same sentiment in terms of the power of the alumni group. So I was unemployed for almost like 8 months during COVID, and it was a tough time for me. And the GSM alumni were like super supportive, and I just can't speak enough about how supportive they were. And I've talked to other folks who've gone to other business programs, and I don't hear the same thing. So just for you folks to know that if you come across hard times or just need like questions answered or really just need advice, I'm pretty sure most folks in the network are open to talking to you. So that's one thing I'll say. In terms of mentors, at least to me, like mentors are something that's very personal. So I can't say like this person's a good mentor for me, so it's going to be good for you, right? So how I found my current mentor, I was actually interviewing at a company, and I decided not to actually take that job. However, the hiring manager, he's SVP of product marketing, was just like so thoughtful in terms of how he approached things, and like just very, very good at what he does. And after that process, I was like, hey, would you mind if we kept in touch? I didn't use the word mentor. I was like, hey, I just want to kind of keep in touch, be able to learn from you, see if we can help each other in any way. And we've had like ongoing one-on-ones every month or so. So that's how I found mine. It is personal. So whatever works for you, whoever you're able to connect with and learn from, just, jump on that and kind of reach out. On the networking front, obviously LinkedIn is good. There are like a couple of product marketing, like influencers, if you want to call it that. I can definitely share those names if anyone's interested that I follow. And then just like as a community, the Product Marketing Alliance is a really good community to be part of. And you can kind of pull resources from there, as well as kind of learn a little bit about what folks do.
Great. I mean, I also want to shout out the career development. We also have a great resources on, I think it's Jennifer Tucker. I do see you here. Did you want to say a couple words about the career development services? If not, I can link a lot of the resources and links that we have. It's a great way for us to see there's resume building, there's career development, there's resources that we can all use. So want to make sure that we utilize them as students to our full advantage. Okay, we'll go to our last question. And this is sort of a question that is more philosophical, so nothing about product management. If you want to relate it back to anything about product management, you can do that as well. What was your biggest takeaway from the UC Davis GSM? Any advice you can give to us as current students? Vi, we can start with you.
Yeah, I would just say that the most valuable thing that I got personally from the GSM was just my lifelong friends now that I still keep in touch with after all these years. I mean, it's been what, like almost 12 years, and I'm actually going to be going away for Memorial Day weekend with like 4 or 5 of the other alums that I went students that I went to school with. And now that we're all married and we have kids, we're all gonna bring our families along and spend the weekend together. And we still keep in touch after all these years. And that's the best thing that I've gotten, along with, the big network and the valuable learnings and the soft skills and everything. So I'm so grateful for the GSM.
Okay, note to hint to all of us. We got to go on vacation with with each other. That's the best thing.
We'll go to Hawaii with Vi.
Go to Hawaii with Vi. Brian, what's your biggest takeaway?
Yeah, I think it'd be similar. One thing for me, like especially during the first year, having not gone back to school in a while when I started, was like it was tough, right? You're balancing, especially for the part-time folks, you're balancing a full workload at work plus classes. Like it's tough, but it's definitely worth it. And like Vi is mentioning, it's those relationships, the connections, where the true value is. So the friends that I've had, I have one who's in Texas, I have one who's in Florida, and then one who's still here. And very much the same way, we still keep in touch. So that's like something that you can't really quantify. And then also like the soft skills, as folks are saying, are actually more important than I had originally thought. Hard skills you can really learn. So especially in product marketing, like product launches, how to go to market, building out frameworks, pricing and packaging, that's all stuff you can learn, relatively quickly. It might take some time, but those soft skills take time to develop and practice. So really think through that in terms of how you're approaching it. And then the classes is one thing. If there's one thing I would change, I'd probably go back and there was like one open study option where you have like free reign to like create your own class. I don't know if they still have that, but like I would have done that and like really crafted my own thing in terms of where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do, because you don't really have much opportunity to do that elsewhere. So like having that opportunity is pretty golden and to be able to do that.
That's awesome. Michelle, how about you?
Well, they took both of mine, but I just as strongly feel the same as both Vi and Brian. The lifelong friends are amazing. I really love the Bay Area program because you get to eat together. We had nighttime classes, and so I had a group of girls where afterward, since we lived far away, I live in the South Bay, we would stay at a hotel from Friday to Saturday class. And so we would study and we would, do our projects together, our homework, whatever. And then we go to class in the morning. And so it was very much of a family atmosphere. They came to our wedding, like we're inviting each other to each other's weddings. And yeah, it's just really great. I will be friends with them forever. So I think that's what I would say. And Brian, I echo your comment about the soft skills are really, really important.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. So that was our listed questions. And now we got a couple of questions that people have messaged me directly, but I want to open it up to you guys. Do you guys have any questions, like the audience or attendees, any questions that you guys want to ask specifically to either Vi, Michelle, or Brian, or the whole group? You guys can either raise your hand here and we can call on you, or feel free to chat me, but we do have some questions that people have asked. One of them is, I think, Brian, you just mentioned this, but what is one thing that you would like to have known prior to product management? So anything that you kind of now look back on and say, I wish I knew that. And if you could do it again, you would have studied or learned more about that before doing product marketing.
Yeah, sorry, prior to the program or prior to making the shift into product
Just said,
marketing?
what would you have liked to know now that you didn't know before?
Yeah, there's a lot, but I think I did summarize it there, where I think at least like during the first half of my GSM career, I was like super focused on like those hard skills, like the classes that I could take, especially, and like what I could learn there. And then like in the second half, I like completely pivoted around and like started taking all those leadership seminar classes. That's kind of how the program is structured, but I started focusing my time more on that. And then really like cultivating those relationships. I did okay at it, but I think I could have done more of it in terms of just like really trying to connect with people in a way that makes sense. So I know it gets really easy to get comfortable and like you sit at the same table or like you sit around the same folks, but like expand beyond there and like sit with other people who may be in different industries or different areas, and really just try to learn and connect with folks as much as you can.
Great. Vi, did you want to add anything?
Let me see.
Or Michelle, if you had anything to add.
No, I don't have anything. I think you gave a great answer, Brian.
Okay.
Same.
Awesome. Okay, so that's our questions. I want to now throw it over to Devashish. He has a product management club announcement. Very exciting news. So Devashish, did you want to make a quick plug?
Sure. Hey, Kevin. Hi, everyone. This is Devashish. I can see some known faces, but those who do not know, I'm Devashish. I'm with Kevin Bay Area second year cohort, and with I was part of the club BAB Bay Area Ambassador Program, and then while we were taking the new students to the club, we saw that product management, there are a lot of interest of the students in the Bay Area and the who are as incoming. And since I'm part of the BAP club, I also know that there are prospects who are coming. They are more interested to learn about product management, and because it's a hot topic, right? And you must have heard from our panelists, all three of them. It is really great opportunity there. So what we have done, with the help of little bit of effort we put, and with the help of GSM staff, we have started the GSM club, the Bay Area Product Management Club. Kevin, would you allow me to share the screen?
Yeah. Oh, I have to do something. What do I have to do?
From the share screen, multiple people can.
Done. Okay.
Yeah, got it. So this is the club we just launched, and it is live now for everybody. What we are trying to do is putting a lot of information where people can get benefit out of it. Whoever, so two categories I would divide into. One is those who are, I see there are a lot great product managers in our cohort, and I welcome them, request them to join this club and strengthen it and help the community. And those who are aspiring to be a product manager, come join the club and get maximum out of it. Share your feedback, and we will try our best as a club. We'll try our best to bring to connect with the alumni, everybody, whoever in this community, and help you to achieve what you are. So there are some useful resources. What are the courses that has been offered? And then with the help of career development team, what Kevin was mentioning earlier, apart from resume building and all other good stuff, they have also the PM interview, product management interview. There is a whole lot of Q&A that you can prepare. So we just started. Again, we need a lot of input from you, your support. So do reach out to us, myself, and I can talk about. Ashwin is not here. He's one of our cohort. He is a great guy, been in the industry for a while, and he has been, he's already started his new startup, I would say, in the consumer packaging and the plastic bags, and he's also going to help us to strengthen this. And we have Rantian, who has joined the club recently, and she brings a lot of experience from China, and now she's also aspiring into product management. She has experience and she's looking for one. So definitely I see a lot of interest. So that's all. I'll take a pause. If anybody has any questions, definitely we will be there to help you out.
Thank you so much, Devashish. This is great segue from what Vi and Brian and Michelle were talking about networking, joining clubs, learning more. Even the PM interviews is something that will be great resource. So I'll make sure to link this in the overall recap email as well, just to make sure that we all have it. But thank you. Any questions for Devashish before we kind of end for tonight?
I think Jess had her hand up. I thought I saw.
Jess, were you having a hand up, or were you just going like this?
Oh, it's like this. Okay. Okay, never mind.
She was giving her virtual support via the class. Any questions, last questions for Vi? Oh, Devashish, do you want to stop sharing, or how do I kick you out?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Any last questions for Brian, Vi, or Michelle on anything they talked about? Or it will be recorded too, so if you guys have current classmates that have missed today's panel, you can send it to them. Anything else? If not, I'll send all the links, all our LinkedIn's as well. Not everybody's, but mine, Michelle, Vi, and Brian. And thank you again, Michelle, Vi, and Brian, for your time and efforts today, just to kind of share more about your career, your transition into product management, and any of the questions, let me know. But if not, thank you guys so much for attending, and you guys will see us soon.
Thank you, Kevin, for hosting.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you guys. And we'll plan to do this again next quarter or a couple months later. We did recruiting last quarter. This quarter, we did product management. So if anyone feels particularly inspired for a field, let me know. Maybe we'll do program management, but maybe we'll do something new like marketing or something. But yes, thank you guys so much. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.